Hello, this is Michael Wojcik with your Legislative Rundown. For those of us who love policy, it's the most wonderful time of the year. The legislature is back in session. This is a little bit different than we've had in previous years because one party now controls the House, the Senate, and the governor's office, so we do have the potential to see movement on certain issues this year. But we, looking at the city of Rochester, are always interested in knowing who represents us. And it's changed quite a bit since the last legislative session. Previously, we had about 6 legislators representing the area. Now, there were a lot of districts that were partially in Rochester, and the makeup was 4 Republicans and 2 Democrats. Even though Rochester grew significantly and the districts within Rochester actually got smaller, we actually have 5 people representing us now, with just a 6th person just having just a hair of South Rochester. So our delegation is now 5 members and made up of 4 Democrats and 1 Republican. So there's a lot of new faces in new places as well. Of course, our governor, Tim Walz, won re-election by a little under 200,000 votes. And one of the interesting pieces of data that I found out in looking at some of the MinPost data that was put up is that Governor Walz won the 50 largest cities in the state of Minnesota by over 400,000 votes, but won the governor's office by less than 200,000. That talks about how much cities have become important players in statewide politics in Minnesota. And obviously Rochester is one of those that went with that same trend. Locally here, our Representative Tina Liebling is our senior member in the state legislature, and she focuses a lot on healthcare and healthcare finance issues. A new member of the House, Kim Hicks, represents the northern parts of Rochester and some surrounding areas, and she is particularly interested in early childhood education. And in much of central Rochester, another new representative is Andy Smith, and he has a small business, Grey Duck Theater, which has been featured on the program before. And he's focused on small business, energy, climate issues. Moving to the Senate, Carla Nelson is one of the more senior members of the Senate. Though she's in the minority party, because of the close split, she'll probably have a lot of ability to use her experience to shape legislation that affects Rochester. And then our new senator, former representative, is Liz Bolden, who represents much of central and north Rochester, and she's also interested in healthcare and education issues. Though it's very early in the session, we've started to hear what some of the priorities will be for this session, but some legislation is already moving. In particular, this week we saw committee action on a tax conformity bill. It's not the most exciting thing, but it is important. And what this is going to mean is that when we do our Minnesota taxes, the policies are going to be consistent with the federal government. We know that we come into this session with a huge budget surplus, and the cost of doing this is about $100 million a year. I look forward to diving into many of the issues that will be coming up at the legislature in future episodes. This is Michael Wojcik reporting on the Minnesota Legislature.